Everyone communicates. You cannot avoid it. Communication is a two-step process that involves inhaling and exhaling. Prior to taking this class, communication to me was just talking. However, after taking this class, I realized that communication is a process that can help me build longer-lasting relationships. Stewart defined interpersonal communication as a form of communication that happens when the people involved talk and listen in ways that maximize the presence of the person. In the communication skills test that I took, I scored 82 out of 100. This means that I am a good communicator and that I'm able to get my points across effectively and that I am a good listener. However, without scoring a perfect score of 100, this means that I have room for improvement. Next slide, please. Having an overarching goal in life is important because it keeps me focused so that I can know what I have to achieve and know the things that I need to do to accomplish them. My overarching goal in life is to improve my listening and focusing skills with my family, friends, co-workers, and associates by striving to become an empathic listener and moving from my level 2 and 3 listening habits to a level 1 listener. Next slide, please. My second overarching goal is to speak effectively in a manner to which I'm able to get my points across effectively. My third overarching goal is to self-disclose properly. Self-disclose is a great communication skill because it allows others to see and know the real me and not the real me. Next slide, please. Bucky Allen states that I can listen better by refraining from judging, don't get distracted when the speaker is speaking, by being an empathic listener, and also by being attentive to the speaker. Next slide, please. Enlarging the conversation is the concept this class is the Enlarging the conversation is the concept this class has encouraged us to expand upon. It is about understanding my skills, knowing my weaknesses, and finding the skills to improve on these skills, all the while inviting others to join in my conversation. Next slide, please. In discussing my behavior blend, I must first define who am I. I am a blessed woman of God, a wife, a mother, a soldier, student, confident, who strives to do right by God's people. I am very family oriented and willing to help out at any time. Next slide, please. According to the Uniquely You assessment, I am a combination of a DS and SD personality type. This means that I follow the rules. Controlling myself is very important. I am motivated by challenges. I like challenges. And I can be critical and impatient when in times of conflict. Next slide, please. One's ability to communicate is based on one's background. Positive qualities that impact my conversation are my ability to be task and people-oriented, sensitive to others, manages conflict well, know when to speak and when to be quiet. People tend to trust my judgment. I am a good listener and a very good confidant. Next slide, please. Negative qualities that tend to impact my conversation are my ability to struggling to express myself, to express or articulate myself. I tend to give mixed messages. I can be demanding at times, stubborn, emotional, and impatient. Next slide, please. This, these qualities may not always be negative, but they tend to have a negative impact on communication. There are many barriers in interpersonal communication. My largest barrier is that I tend to interrupt others when they are speaking because I have to say what's on my mind, or else I think that I will forget what I have to say. My plan to fix this is to become an empathic listener by being receptive and sensitive to the person that's speaking. Next slide, please. Also, another barrier to interpersonal communication that I have is by being a faker. I pretend to listen all the while focusing on something else. Also, my ability to rescue others. Bucky, Allen, and Peterson states that in rescuing others, we could cause damage to that individual's self-confidence. My plan is to participate in our conversation as a level 1 listener and understand the role of the listener. Next slide, please. Noises are things that distract us in our conversations. There are two types of noises. Internal noises are things of our own doing, or things that causes us problems when communicating with others. External noises are things around us that causes us to be distracted when communicating with others. Next slide, please. Hearing what I want to hear is an example of an internal noise that it's an example of an internal noise I tend to have. I tend to hear exactly what I want to hear and not what the speaker is saying. My plan to fix this problem is to ask for clarification once the speaker finishes speaking. Another internal noise that I have is I tend to daydream a lot and rehearsing on what I'm going to say next. Also, when I'm tired, I tend not to focus on the speaker. Another internal noise that tends to distract me is when I have too many deadlines at work that I have to accomplish. Next slide, please. Examples of external noises are the speaker's voice. If the speaker is being too loud, too soft, too slow, or is speaking in a monotone. Another external noise is the speaker mannerism. If the speaker is not really, if the speaker is fidgeting around while he's speaking, or if the speaker is playing with papers or any other thing, that tends to distract me. Work issues also, if I have too many deadlines, that's an example of an internal noise that tends to distract my communication. Also the room temperature, if it's too hot or it's too cold, I can easily get distracted. Next slide, please. My plan to fix this problem is to talk less and listen more, embrace the uniqueness of others, knowing that we are all different and that people communicate in different ways. Also refrain from forming opinion and passing judgment, and also avoid distractions such as the internal and the external noises. Next slide, please. I plan to use Peterson's Tucker listener card to help me work on my listening skill. I will do as the Bible says by being slow to speak and quick to listen. I will use discernment and seek guidance from the Holy Spirit when involved in communication. Next slide, please. So the big question is, where do I go from here? Discovering that others do not need me to solve their problem, but to listen to them. I will respect those that I'm having conversation with and do my best to become an empathic listener. Focus on how I can move from my level 2 and 3 listening habits to a level 1 listener. This concludes my interpersonal communication. Thank you for allowing me to share my interpersonal communication project with you. and God bless you. References follow next. Next. Next.